be able to start it.
There we go.
Oh, please
Right.
go ahead, Andrew. Thank you for leading
Brilliant.
today.
Yeah, well, great to see so many faces. And I've now got a full screen of faces and less note takers. So, welcome to the UK monthly meetup for April 2026. I hope you all had a wonderful Easter. And I suppose on behalf of the Global Chamber Scotland, very pleased to be welcoming you all today to the UK meetup. It's certainly challenging times that we're finding globally with the geopolitical landscape. And this is often when organisations like the Global Chamber really come into their own. It's certainly, I know Doug was mentioning our last exec director meeting, um, it's really where these communities pull together because behind all the politics, there are real people, real businesses that really want to trade in harmony. But we can help each other through those challenges. So, you know, as Doug said, we've got quite a busy schedule of people who are wanting to speak. We've also asked Stuart Argo to speak. Gregor's going to run through roughly what the agenda is, and hopefully we get a chance of a bit of a round table. But Gregor, I'll just hand over to you to just maybe run through that and maybe bring Stuart to the fore. Yeah.
Cheers, Andy. Hi, everyone, and it's a pleasure to be leading the UK Metro meetup for the first time. And it is the Scottish chapter, but there are no subtitles provided for the heavy Scottish accents. So, in terms of speakers, we're trying to make it a collaborative hour, but we've got Rhonda from Midwives Alliance who'll be talking during the hour. Where I think Katie and Handy are going to be coming on to talk about the Global Chamber event, the 20th. We've got Corrine from English Speaking Experts. Poppy and Matt are coming on from Link Strategic Partners. But I thought it'd be really good to start with Stuart Argo, who's going to give us a bit of an update on everything that's happening in terms of political state of play in the UK at the moment, which is a mix of the Scottish parliamentary elections coming up, the UK council elections, and most importantly for everyone I call, how does this get impacted by all the global events that are happening at the moment? So, Stuart, happy for you to take it away.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you very much. I will just explain a little bit about myself first of all. So I started a freelance business in November last year. I'd been in uh, agencies before that, communications agencies, a large UK independent, and before that, a global company, one of the three biggest in the world. And before that, I'd been in public sector organizations covering health, local government, and the environment. And before that, I worked for BBC. Started out life as a local radio journalist. And across those, if you like, three career paths, uh, I've been really interested in and very heavily involved in media, public policy, and business. And if I was ChatGPT, I'd be talking about intersections left, right, and center, since that seems to be one of ChatGPT's favorite words. But in all honesty, I am genuinely, or do feel like I enjoy working most when it is at that intersection of the media and the public sphere, politics and policy, and the business world as well. I'm not a political creature, but I've always been on the edge of politics, and all those things combined really appeal to my personal interests around stakeholder relations, reputation management, achieving constructive and practicable change, facilitation and training. And those are all the sorts of services that I'm offering in my freelance business now, which, to be honest, it's good and interesting work, and I feel it's important, but it's not necessarily compatible with working for an agency where you inevitably have less flexibility around what you might charge and the kind of work that you want to do. So fortunately for me, I'm not looking to buy a Ferrari or have a holiday home out in sunny California with Doug or anything like that, which is just as well because it does allow me the flexibility to pursue lots of areas of work that I find interesting. And boy, is it an interesting time at the moment politically. If I just take a quick tour through everything at an international level, we've got another 2.5 years of a Trump administration. Um, Things could shift a little bit with the midterms in November, but this is an administration that has gone to war in Iraq and introduced tariffs without congressional approval. So um, it'd be interesting to see what kind of changes there might be, if any, later on in the year. You've got Russia and China mostly looking on, thinking, oh, well, this is quite good sport. Although for China, it's a little bit more difficult because they are affected by the lack of oil coming out of the Gulf. Uh, some of the foreign policies or defense policies that some countries are pursuing might end up being insane. Of course, we don't really know. It might be in hindsight that some of these things actually made an awful lot of sense. You've got Hungary. Is that going to be a significant outcome there? Does that represent a plateauing of right-wing right-wing authoritarian regimes? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Are we seeing some of the impact of what Mark Carney was saying at Davos not so long ago, where he was essentially challenging European countries to push back on what they were seeing from the United States and others? Are we seeing that in the behavior of some NATO members and the EU generally? These are all just the things going on. I don't have any answers to any of them. If I did have answers to these issues, um, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. I'd be making millions as a policy advisor. Then, if we look in the UK specifically, there's quite a lot going on. Obviously, domestic politics in the moment is very heavily influenced by international politics, the effect everything's having on the supply chain, energy prices, cost of living. Um, will any of this help Keir Starmer? Probably not. Uh, he seems to be enjoying his role as a statesman, talking about Iran. But on the other hand, you've got the Chagos deal that's almost certainly going to fall to the side. Meanwhile, he's looking for closer EU alignment. You've got all these macro issues going on, but quite possibly what will do him in is the result of the local government elections in May. So despite everything that's going on and those huge geopolitical question marks and uncertainties that are going on just now, we might still have a new prime minister in the UK in a few months' time if he doesn't survive a Labour trouncing at the local government elections that take place on the 7th of May at the same time as elections to the Welsh Senate and the Holyrood Parliament in Edinburgh. And then we might have Angela Rayner or Wes Streeting or David Lammy or all sorts of other people, which could then throw everything else into turmoil. Now, there's a question mark around all of this, which is, okay, what can any individual organization or business do about any of that? And I'm certainly happy to talk about it briefly, although I did make a note about a few key points, um, one of which I've actually just remembered. I just need to write down before I forget it. There's also an interesting Scottish dimension to all of this as well, which may not be immediately apparent. So if we look at the Holyrood elections that are coming up in uh, in May, a few talking points potentially from that. The Reform Party, how will they do, and what might that signal for elsewhere in the UK? People are going to be looking at how they do at Holyrood, combined then with how they do at the local government elections in England as well, and in Wales too. That might be a bellwether for what happens with reform more generally. Clearly, there's been a lot of talk about them winning a majority at the next Westminster Parliament. quite a long way away from that yet. Labour will almost certainly be really well beaten across the board. What's that going to do, as I've already said, for the Labour leadership and the direction it's going in? Interestingly, Labour have been losing a lot of votes to the Greens, and maybe the Greens will do well in Scotland and at the local government elections. What might that have in terms of further ramifications for what happens with Greens taking away Labour votes in England in the next few years? Sticking specifically in Scotland, the SNP are almost certainly going to win, and whatever winning looks like in this, I'll come back to in a second. They will win because there are two reasons. One is that people who voted SNP before are less likely to blame them for the things that they are unhappy with, whereas people who voted Labour in 2024 in the general election are more likely to blame Labour for the things that they are unhappy with. So it's a race to the bottom. It's not which parties and party leaders are popular, it's who's least unpopular. That's the metric that we're looking at in a lot of instances. And the other reason that the SNP are going to win is that there's been a fracturing of Labour and Conservative votes, particularly. People who voted SNP very rarely switched to Reform. Reform are picking up their voters, particularly from the Conservatives, but also in Labour. Is that something else that we're going to see accelerated or exacerbated in England and across the UK in the next couple of years? And we could be looking at a situation, if we fast forward a couple of years, let's say the UK vote is really fragmented and no party is able to command a majority. You've got Labour, Conservatives, and Reform, all with significant vote shares and seats, but not enough of a strong position to form a government. If you've got an SNP majority in Holyrood, maybe with the Greens, who are also in favour of independence, could an SNP government, SNP Green coalition negotiate their way closer towards independence as a way of helping one of those parties, let's say Labour, get a majority government at Westminster? So although what's happening in Scotland just now is quite removed for a lot of people about from UK politics and maybe quite removed in a few years from what will happen at Westminster, we could see things happening in the next few weeks and months that create a ripple effect that goes years down the line. So it's definitely one to keep an eye out on and just follow where it all goes. In terms of what any individual businesses can or organizations can do about any of this, if we're thinking about politics just, I would say on the whole, a lot of business sectors are really rubbish at telling their own story. And quite a lot of the time they'll say, "Oh, we just want to do what we do. We don't want to be out there in the media, or we don't want to be talking to politicians." And then when something comes along, they'll say, "Nobody understands us. People don't understand and appreciate our sector." Well, those two things kind of go hand in hand. You have to be talking about yourself for other people to know and understand what you're all about. And when it comes to politics specifically, and creating the right policy and legislative and tax environment for businesses to succeed, I would say there are three really important points. One is there has to be a clear proposition and a realistic proposition because achieving change in politics is very hard. The second is that a lot of patience is required because, as well as it being hard, it takes a long time. And then the third is that a lot of people can fixate on the ministers, the people who are at the top of the tree, But actually, to achieve success, you normally need to have engagement at multiple levels with officials and research units and special advisors and think tanks and all the others. So my advice would be for any businesses that care about the state of the world that we're in and the impact that it has on their business or their sector is start telling your story. Uh, do it in a way where you're really clear about what it is that your proposition is and what you want from others. Be patient in doing so because it could take years before you get the results that you want, and cultivate friends and relationships at multiple levels of civic society. Um, happy, happy to take any questions. I know we've got other speakers, so I don't want to take up too much time, but happy to answer any questions about Lighthouse PR or any of the things that I've just talked about there.
Thanks, Stuart. I was just wondering, do you see in terms of the advertising PR com side, do companies, as the uncertainty scales higher in the world, are you seeing a reaction at the management level of that? Do you see, or is it more that the management teams sometimes get more insular and
Yeah.
they concentrate on the only things they can and want to forget about what's happening, so they're just trying to push forward? Or have you got some clients that are searching for your help in terms of crisis comms or what they do at the moment with everything that's going on geopolitically?
Yes, that's a very good question, Gregor, and thanks for asking it because I was supposed to address it up front and I overlooked that in my notes.
Mm.
Uh, I I once got taken out canoeing as a novice canoeist in a force 4 wind off Shetland. So heading off into the North Atlantic, and every time a wave would come along, I'd feel buffeted and I'd just panic a little bit and I'd stop paddling. And the guy who was leading the trip out started to get a little bit ratty with me, and he said, "You have to keep paddling. If you stop paddling and you get hit by a wave, that's when you're more likely to capsize. The inaction is what's going to tip you over." And that's always stuck with me because I think what I see a lot at the moment is when people are faced with, when businesses and other organizations are faced with a lot of uncertainty, they tend to become more risk averse, to sit back, to watch, to wait, and to worry about the things that they can't control. And that's a very natural and understandable situation to be in. And there will be lots of instances where it is right to be, let's say, a bit more passive. After all, none of us on this call can stop what's going on in Iran or Ukraine, or if China decided to take over Taiwan or whatever, we're pretty much powerless. So what we have to do is look instead at the things that we can influence, the things that we can control. And what I do see is, let's say if we're talking about exports, is I heard clients, somebody say the other day that they now look on the US as a high risk export market. And this is in terms of, I think it was a whiskey brand actually was talking about it's a massive market for us. In those situations, what they might do is say, okay, we're just going to back off and really not try to do anything at all. And I think, like me in the canoe, that's a bit of a mistake. Okay, you can't do what you were wanting to do before. You're not able to pursue your ideal outcome, which in the case of that company was selling more whiskey to the US. But how can you pivot? How can you look at Canada? Or if you've got a transatlantic supply chain set up already, can you flex and pivot so that you can be targeting more of South America, for example? Um, and so to come back to your point, Gregor, I think what I see with clients is it's all too overwhelming, and they end up in stasis. They don't know how to react. They don't know how to do anything. And as we all know in business, if you're just stood still, then you're going backwards.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, and I think this is where the platform, the community we have here in the Global Chamber just becomes ever so more important, doesn't it? Anyone got any other questions for Stuart or Doug? You got any thoughts about how you're seeing things from your side in the US before we move on?
When things are turbulent, I always reach out to Michael Quigley because of his mindfulness and
Yeah.
thoughtfulness and understanding of the overall picture. Michael, what do you have any reaction to what you heard there? Anything stand out, and what are some of the things that you're thinking about?
Sure. So, firstly, thank you very much for what you said, Stuart. It's very helpful to know the macro picture in the UK. Two things. There's a great motivational speaker called Les Brown, and he was taught in times of uncertainty, expand, because he tried laying off his staff during a hard time, and his mentor said, Les, you talking about shrinking into greatness? I don't think so. And so that helped him to kind of give himself the kick. So I think that's something you can think about. And the second thing is somebody said to me in a training course, actually, what do you do in uncertain times? I said, you be certain. I said, what do you mean by that? I said, people want sincerity of character and consistency. If turmoil is going around, like she was saying in the boat, he looked to that person. That person's nice and calm. It's like, stop freaking out. So your calm leadership and your consistency that you show every single day has a ripple effect with people and can stop panic and ease fear and just create a more instead of like how do we reduce uncertainty, people start thinking more like how are we going to handle it? What kind of people do we need to be right now? So I'll stop because I don't take up too much time. But yeah, off the top of my head, Doug, there you go.
Brilliant. And any other responses? Rhonda, you're a mindful person. I bet you're probably pretty calm amidst the storm.
Well, I'm not in Britain and I'm not in the US, although I'm originally from the US, but so that makes things better. I'm in Germany. But for me, I think the important thing is always the storm is there and the storm is sort of passing over, but what's behind the storm is a wonderful big sky that doesn't have anything in it that looks stormy. And we tend to focus so much on what's going on right in front of us and saying, oh, this is also terrible. But every storm passes, every single storm passes at some point. We don't know when, but it does. And behind it, there's always the big blue sky with the sun and all the things that we all know are there all the time. We just have to remember it and not get taken up by the storm when it's there. What I'd like to add to the conversation. Thank you, Doug.
Can I just come back in on something that Rhonda had mentioned there? It came up in conversation with someone recently, thinking about there are people who have been working for the best part of 20 years. So they've nearly worked for a generation and they've yet to know some of the more prosperous times that some of us who are perhaps a little bit older have experienced. Certainly, if you look in the UK or even in a Scottish context, you can go back to the financial crash, and then there was the period of austerity with the Cameron government. Then you had the Scottish independence referendum, then the Brexit referendum, then Brexit itself, then COVID, and the um, then obviously Ukraine, and there have been a whole load of other things since then. And one of the conversations I've had over many years with people is well, let's just wait until everything is calmed down because that'll be the right time to communicate. Um, well, some people have worked for 20 years and they've never known a calm time at all. So I think where I'm getting to, having started in quite a negative place around all the economic and social and environmental shocks that have taken place over the last 20 years, I am getting to the point where even if that big blue sky um, that Rhonda was talking about is a little bit further away than we might like, we have to keep going and we have to try to um, be as certain and confident and proactive as we possibly can be, because no one else is going to fix things for us. We have to fix things for ourselves. We have to make them happen for ourselves. And as I'm looking out the window, I don't see a blue sky coming yet. But Rhonda, I am certain you are right that there is one. It's just over the horizon. We just need to hold out a little bit longer.
I think that's a great insight, Stuart. And Gregor reminds me of we do a first Friday conversation about the world, and our keynote speaker was Ricardo Vanella, who's our executive director for Argentina. And he talked about Argentina in that same context, that Argentina 5 years ago was a crazy place to invest. Even Argentinians didn't invest there. Inflation was high, very stagnant economy. And now Argentinians have faith in their economy. They're investing in the country. It is not without risk. It is not clear blue skies. There's some real dangers there, but relative to what it was, it's much, much better. And I've never seen Ricardo. I've known Ricardo for probably almost 20 years. I've never seen him smiling and feeling as optimistic as he is, even considering the world the way it is. In his world, in the Argentina world, it's a blue sky. So it's all relative. His point, by the way, was we're never going to get to that point where there's no risk. It's managing risk and managing that balance between investment and risk that we all need to be thinking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just made me think there of a visualization with Michael's statement and Rhonda's, and I was just thinking you've just went through a number of black swan events there, Stuart. So I was thinking of a swan which is very graceful and calm, but its feet are under the water, doing all the work, making it sure it heads towards the blue sky. So maybe it's the swan analogy. Maybe that's what you should have been like in your canoe, Stuart. So thanks very much. I mean, if nobody's got any more questions, Doug, do you want to suggest order of play, or will you just go from the top of your list there?
Well, I wonder, and there's no particular order, but we're talking about the world and risk strategy, and I'm wondering, Matt and Poppy, this is a lot of what you guys do. And so do you have any comments, what we've just talked through, and is there a segue here to what you wanted to share in terms of the work that you do?
Thanks, Doug. Firstly, Stuart, thanks so much. That was really, really insightful. The thing that stood out for me was when you said people aren't always great at telling their stories, and we'll get into some of the work that we do, but I couldn't agree more. I think that more often than not, people do have a whole load of content out there, but they either just don't know where to start, or it's not quite hitting the mark, and it's just a missed opportunity. And then, Michael, always good to see you again. The point that you made about calm and the conversation that happened there, again, I think that's really, really important. Sometimes people are quite surprised that my dog is a 14 stone or 200-pound mastiff. And when people say, how are you walking him? How do you take care of this dog? And I always just say the same thing. It is about calm, consistent leadership. I live my life by that. It's easier said than done, believe me, but that is something that I try and focus a lot of effort and energies on trying to aspire to. So the storytelling piece and just kind of trying to keep a clear head and some form of stability when the world is changing almost on an hourly basis, it feels like. But that was they were my takeaways. But thanks, Stuart. That was really interesting.
Thank you very much, Poppy. Let's go back to perhaps Rhonda. I know we have about 25 minutes overall, and there were about 4 or 5 of you to speak, and then let's do a round table. So if we can get a few minutes from ideally each of you in terms of any observations, any help that you need, or anything that you'd like to share. Rhonda, how's the move gone, and what would you like to share today?
Well, the move hasn't gone yet. Thank you for asking. We have the new place, but we're still in the old place. So people who've seen me before online, yes, this is still my office. We're in the process of now selling our house. So that's the next big move for us. But the big move for me as far as what's going on here in the global world is I am in the middle of setting up an e-company in Estonia, which means that although I have an American passport and I'm a permanent resident in Germany, I am also now an e-resident in Estonia, which means I have put in the form, I have been approved by Interpol and the Estonian police, and I'm not part of the mafia or something. And they've said, yes, it's Rhonda's has a chance to come. And I now have, through this card, access to everything in the digital world in the Estonian government, including setting up an e-company. And people say, well, you're American, why aren't you, and my company's here in Germany, obviously, that's where I live, but they said, why aren't you setting up a company in Delaware or in Dubai or on the Cayman Islands, or there are a million places where you could be setting up companies. But I'm specifically doing it in Estonia because Estonia is the place in the world that's been doing digital companies since 2014. And Estonia is the country that says if you want somebody on your board of directors or whatever you want, that person never has to come to Estonia. They just have to put in the application and get the card, and they have the right to do all of the things as an e-resident in Estonia that has anything to do with the company. And because I'm setting up a global platform in which I want everybody in the world to have an option to be in it, that's the reason why I've chosen to set up the alliance in Estonia as opposed to somewhere else. It's a platform or marketplace for what I'm calling the wisdom from the middle of society. Exactly all of the wonderful faces that I can see here now on the screen. None of us are named Donald Trump or Elon Musk or any of the other people we see all the time in the news. None of us are all of those people that we all feel sorry for who have just been through a natural catastrophe or a war or something. There's an awful lot going on the ends of society, on the edges or on the fringes, as one famous person in America is talking about. But what is happening in the world is happening because of all of us here in this room. This is the wisdom of the middle of society, and not enough people are paying attention to it. And not enough people who have that kind of wisdom are able to share it and do very good things for the world by working with each other, by selling goods and services to other people in a way that everyone has a chance to be equally involved. And so the important thing about the Alliance is that everything is going to be that is sold. There'll be many things that will not be sold, but those that will be sold on a token system. And this token system aligns itself with the 4 levels of the World Bank as far as income is concerned. And that means all of us who are in Britain or the US or Germany would all be buying tokens on the highest level. So we'd buy 1 token and pay €1, for example. But then the next level may only be paying 60 cents, and the next one only 40, and the next one only 20. So if something is on sale for 100 tokens, on the outside, everybody's buying tokens. I'm paying €100. Somebody else is only paying €20, but that's what they can pay based on where they live and the way the economy works where they are. And so that is the stage that I'm at the moment. Anybody who's interested, I would love to find out more about how you could help make sure that the Alliance becomes a wonderful thing. If you are just interested, I'm putting my link tree in the chat, and there's a link to the company page on LinkedIn where you can find out more, and would love to entertain any questions you have, but also would like to stop now because there are other nice people who have something to share as well. Thank you so much for your attention.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. I know Matt and Poppy, in addition to the comments, Poppy, that you made, is there anything else that you wanted to share regarding the work that you're doing?
Yeah, thanks very much. So firstly, just wanted to say thank you for having us, Doug and Caesar. Really appreciate the invitation. And Michael, as I said before, always good to see you. Matt and I are really excited to be here and meet you all, and we're looking forward to connecting on LinkedIn. So
How
my
do you
name's
know, how do you know Michael?
Well, we were connected through Caesar. Thank you very much, Caesar, for the
Oh, okay.
introduction. And yeah, we had a wonderful discussion, and Michael told us all about his podcast that I've been listening to whilst walking the aforementioned 200-pound, 14 stone bull mastiff. So yeah, new connections, but there's been a lot of synergies there, and we are really excited about the relationships that we're making. And so, Caesar and Doug, thanks very much for inviting us along and being an instigator of those friendships and relationships. So, my name's Poppy. I'm Director of Standards and Accountability at a strategic communications and stakeholder engagement firm called Link Strategic Partners. I'll drop some information in the chat and also follow up with you on LinkedIn if we connect. Our focus is very much about understanding and respecting the communities in which we operate in order that we can help our clients apply the right tools and strategies so that they can manage and overcome challenges. That all kind of sounds like kind of corporate AI speak. So, what does that mean in real terms? So, we're headquartered out of Washington, D.C., and Matt and I are over in the UK. We really focus at the nexus of communications and engagement. And the way that we approach our work is whether if it's in Washington, D.C., upstate New York, London, Manchester, England, we are really focused on learning and absorbing as much about that hyper local experience as possible to give us a really intrinsic understanding of our clients, communities, and partners. I'll bring Matt in so that he can talk about some of our work because it spans broad sectors from education to non-extractive tourism to second chance hiring to arts, science, you name it. We always say that we will work with organizations that are making the world a better place. So, however people define communities, and that's, people have their different descriptions and interpretations of that, we are very much of the focus that doing well and doing good shouldn't be mutually exclusive. So, we're a social impact consultancy firm. If you take nothing else from this, it's about stakeholder engagement and communications. And Stuart, that's why I was so interested in the point that you made about storytelling. We do a whole bunch of things from organizational assessments to strategic planning to facilitation and events. We also have in-house digital and videography capabilities as well. But our focus is really going in, working with clients, working with communities to provide them with sustainable tools to make the world a better place. Matt, I'll bring you in just a sec to talk about some concrete examples of work that we've done, but just some cool things about Link.
We have a couple minutes, 1 or 2 more minutes.
Minutes. I'm going to speed it up super quick because you might like this one. Our youngest employee is 15 and our eldest is 97 years young. We have a relatively small team that's scattered about the US, globally, and also in the UK. And we hire people with lived experience. Matt's a former teacher. My background's in politics, also Stuart, while I was tuned into what you were saying, and also higher education. So we bring that lived experience to the work that we do. Sorry if I've taken up too much time. I'll put some stuff in the chat. Matt, I'll kick it over to you, please.
Sure. Yeah, I know we don't have much time, so I dropped my LinkedIn here. Would love to connect with you all, but really quickly about my role. I've been with Link for almost 10 years, opened our first official international branch in England. We do a lot of work across the UK. We came here specifically to work with universities first, and we've kind of mushroomed out from there. So we work, as Poppy said, we do social impact marketing. We help a lot of organizations measure their social impact and then tell those stories. We work with charities, nonprofits, businesses that are doing maybe have a sustainable arm or social impact remit that they're working towards. So I always say we do anything that a marketing and a PR firm do, but we do it with a social impact lens. I am happy to talk with everyone, or anyone outside of this meeting. But I came here 6.5 years ago to the UK. It's a really interesting story. We had just launched the branch and then COVID happened. So we've changed the types of work we do and expanded as the country has gone through a lot of changes, which were kind of talked about at the beginning of this session. So I will drop the website as well to learn more about us, but would love to talk to you all about kind of the journey and about what we're doing in the UK and how we've expanded in the past 6 years.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to learning more. Thank you for participating today. Um, let's probably, Andrew and Gregor, shall we continue to go around the room? We have about 10 or 12 minutes to go. Michael, we asked you a question earlier, but would also just love to hear any input that you have, any help that you need, or any support that we should be providing to folks that you know.
Thank you, Doug. That's very kind. For those of you who never met me, hello, my name is Michael Quigley. I've just started my 9th year in business on a mission trying to help 1 billion people. So 9 years in, working in 2 languages, soon to be 3. Watch this space. More on that later. So I do 3 things really. I coach and mentor people in leadership positions, business owners. It's lonely, it's difficult, it's stressful. I get it. And I support them. We have very kind of intimate professional relationships. Very proud of that. Second thing is I do training, group training. I'm a qualified teacher like Matt. That's where we bounce off each other. And the third thing is I have an online platform. So when Rhonda was saying her thing about her online platform, it sounds really cool. I'd love to talk to you about yours, and the thing you're doing about the payment, I think is really cool. Because I spoke to a guy once in Bangladesh and he saw the pricing on mine. He was like, you've priced that really well because everybody can't afford it. You can go on your podcast for free, etc. So you've really thought about that. So well done. And for helping me, anybody who wants to help me on my mission, really, if you think, I'd like to help this guy, but I'm here to help you, really. That's my thing. That's my mission. I've just come back from 4 days on holiday, swimming in the sea and recommitted to what I'm doing. Unless I get hit by a bus, like shoot, saying playing a long game, going to be here for decades. So yeah, anything I can do to help you, I'm very happy to. Thank you very much.
Are there people that we should be introducing you to?
Yeah, I'd say in terms of coaching, just say to people, you could ask them questions like, how's your time management? And that people always say, oh, it's terrible. So I know someone can help you. Or around lifestyle, the danger sometimes with business owners is they can have a business that's doing well, but the lifestyle suffers. And you just say, how's your lifestyle? Are you happy with your lifestyle? And if they say kind of no. And then I've kind of got a niche of financial insurance professionals, insurance people, financial people, but not always. They seem to just like me for the soft skill side. But just like Cesar knows me really well, made the introduction to Poppy and Matt at Links, companies with social impact to do loads of stuff for free. Because as you might be able to figure out with 1 billion people, you don't need 1 billion people to buy from you. There's multiple ways of doing it. And so most of what I do is for free. So yeah, hope that answers your question.
Fantastic. I know one thing, Andrew and Gregor, um, uh, perhaps we've heard a little bit on the political side in Scotland in terms of the economic side and what some of the opportunities are there as you're building the chapter for Global Chamber. What are you finding so far in terms of the hot markets? What are some of the things that we should be thinking about for Scotland over the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months where the opportunities are? Are you discovering some things about the market that you hadn't seen before?
Gregor.
Yeah, I would say that the exciting thing for us is we've continued over the last few months since we spoke on this subject to meet a lot of good people. And I think some things that have been a bit surprising is there's a lot going on, a lot of things opening up in the property real estate side, whether that's commercial hotels or property. So that's one thing. There's a huge amount of activity going on around the energy sector and data centres, which we quite like because along with us being involved and being able to help either from the consultancy or actual supply chain side, it's really nice because to have those data center solutions requires a lot of teamwork and a lot of different companies from different sectors. So all these things are quite nice for us, Doug, because Links is can help in so many different ways because we're sector agnostic, but it's very reciprocal where there's opportunities or discussions, I think, across not just us, but with other people that are either on this call or the wider global chamber community. So energy is one, AI is an obvious one at the moment, but like a lot of probably England, we've spoken to a lot of companies down south, a lot of companies in Europe, and there's still quite a lot of companies making mistakes and going for AI without understanding why they are, what they're doing with it, and how it's actually helping the people involved in the companies. So that's where we can help in a certain amount of ways. And I think probably in terms of people not being so sure of what the future holds for the company and how they get to there in the best way, this is probably, in a way, the worst I've seen it because there's some ambiguity about it and how AI fits in. And it's the best we've seen it because there's so many opportunities, I think, to reach out, to talk, to network, and find those people that can help, whether it's in the UK, Europe, or around the globe. So there's a huge amount going on and a huge amount of positivity, although times are hard with all the uncertainty we've spoken about. But I guess whether it's Stuart, Rhonda, or Michael earlier on, I think myself and Andy would agree a lot of times if you're stuck, if you feel stuck, it's not thinking about getting to the top of the steps, it's just taking the next step. And you do that with your team, your management team. You hopefully do that with the help of people like Stuart, Michael, Poppy, and Matt, and Rhonda. You do it together, and that's how you get there. So we continue to be positive. And I think if I think about the global chamber, what everyone's trying to achieve here, it's so important at the moment with everything that's going on. And this is where we can go forward. And as you say, Doug, continue to be unstoppable. I think that's the message. Andy, you agree?
Yeah, I was just going to say, one of my favorite times at university was when somebody stood up to do the speech to become the class president. This guy did a fantastic speech, and then this person stood up and just said ditto. So I'll just say ditto to that. So I thought that was my favorite speech, one word. But yeah, ditto to all that. And we've got some very strong sectors in the UK and Scotland, food and drink. Stuart mentioned whiskey there, all affected by the global economy. Fantastic in bioscience, fantastic in tech. In the square miles between Glasgow and Edinburgh, it's like it's the same square miles, I believe, as Silicon Valley. With the same number of universities, same number of patents logged. We're not great at investors sort of getting behind companies. So we're interested in that sort of sector as well, and many more. But there's always winners and losers, and depending what's happening in the market. It's just actually, as Gregor said, coming together. So I think I was better saying ditto. It's all in just now.
Well, one of the general themes that I definitely see at Global Chamber for the people that are really successful is that there's three things. One is that they're dreamers. They want to improve things. They want things to be better. They're thinkers. And I love the discussion earlier about the 200-pound mastiff, which, by the way, probably the mastiff is walking you versus the other way around. But that makes it even more important to be mindful and calm and be in control through the mind. And so thinking is so important. And then third is doing, instead of consternating or doing nothing or fretting or worrying. We always have to do some of that, but if we can actually do some action, I think that was your point earlier. So dreaming, thinking, doing is a great cycle to be in. And what prompted me to think of that was one of our more successful members he's the number one importer of natural materials for surfaces in the United States. Travertine being one of the materials, but other, marble and other stone that he brings into the U.S. When the last big recession in the United States happened, I think whenever it was 15 or so years ago, everybody else in the construction industry was cutting back. And to the point that was made earlier, he said, this is the time I need to lay in. And so he laid into it, and that gave him the drive to be able to be number one. So he thought about it a lot. He's one of the more mindful people that I know, very thoughtful. He was kind of hard. I was doing some consulting work. He was kind of hard to work for from the standpoint of everything had to be really well understood before he made a decision. I love his thinking process by understanding and asking over and over and then finally making a decision and moving forward. Decisions like that should not be made hastily. He thought a lot about it, and so I encourage everyone to do the same. Coco is in the room, and Coco is, at least here in Southern California, Coco is the one of the many automated robots that competes with space on sidewalks in Los Angeles and the Santa Monica area. It's unbelievable how many now robots are just wandering the streets. And one of them is called Coco, one of the original ones. This Coco, however, is someone who is great business person who was in Germany. And I understand, Coco, you have moved to the UK. How has that move gone, and what's going on in your business? Anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, thank you. Hi, great to join you. Yeah, I've actually been here 6 months already, Doug. Can
Wow.
you believe it? Yeah.
Amazing.
So I was living in Germany for 27 years and I moved around all over Germany. So Berlin, Hamburg, Köln, Salzburg, Munich. So I've done Germany. I know Germany. And so I used to have I still do actually have the German group. Um, and now I'm in the UK. There's a big manufacturing symposium here in September. It's the 30th this year. And so I'm organizing a female leadership program around that. So that's exciting and stressful and lots of moving parts, but I'm sure it'll be amazing. And yeah, so I used to be doing a lot of business English training, and now I'm finally free. I don't have to do any more business English training ever again. I feel so liberated. And so now the focus is on communication and leadership for mostly women, but also guys in tech and engineering. That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Welcome. Maybe Dan Hinman and Fleur, sales and marketing, are in the room. Do you each have 30 to 60 seconds just to say hi?
Sure. Hello, everybody. I'm Dan Hinman. I live in London. My focus is really working with small and medium-sized enterprises and helping them grow sales, build a strategy, a sales process. So I've been working with owners and founders. We're really looking to take it to the next level and grow. Don't know how to do that. Don't have a good plan in place. Don't use a sales playbook. Don't give a good path for their salespeople to be successful. So I help kind of work with them on those areas and build their teams and get them off running to grow some revenue. So it's a passion of mine. I love doing it. And I've recently seen an uptick in opportunities. People are really, despite all the things that are happening in the world, they're still trying to be optimistic and they're still thinking, how can I grow my business? And that's really refreshing to work with people who are still very optimistic on the future and what 2026 can be. So it's nice to meet everybody, and would love to have a chat. If you need any help in any areas, it's conversations are free.
We're optimistic that Dan will also be the speaker for the monthly sales call in May, and he'll be talking about AI and sales. So thank you, Dan. Looking forward. It's not up
Yeah,
on
sure.
yet, but we'll get that up. Fleur, anything that you would like to share?
Not loads, but hi, I'm Fleur. I'm actually the assistant to our CEO, so she couldn't be here today. But we're a marketing consultancy working with small to medium businesses, corporates, really, firms for accountancies, lawyers, and stuff. We work a lot on kind of SEO and getting your image out there and trying to make, your social media as improved as we can to just reach more international audiences. That's where we specialize, is the international reach. But yeah, but it was great to hear from all of you. All sound so interesting.
Brilliant presentation a month or two ago by your team. Thank you so much. Want to make sure that Crumb, if you have a moment, could you tell us about the art work that you've done, if you'd like to, and anything else? But we only have about a minute for you.
Thank you very much. My name is Krumpev and I am trade representative of company Vemo. We are producer of food supplements, feed additives, herbal extracts, and enzymes. We produce a completely closed production cycle from the extracts to the analysis to the final products. Our products is very good for the health and sports. So we are looking for distributors and also health stores, gym stores, and fitness centers distributors. In UK is very big market for us. So if someone is interested, I will be very happy to make a one-to-one meeting. Regarding my pictures, I paint with fingers pictures which have energy and they are really very beautiful.
I agree. Go to the Global Chamber Sophia page on LinkedIn and you'll see a link that has Crumb's work. Finger painting, normally you think of for children, but this is not children finger painting. It's unbelievable. It's really amazing. You should definitely see it. It's at the Global Chamber Sophia LinkedIn page. It is really amazing. I'd like to turn it over to Andrew and Gregor for final comments. I will say, just from my own 30 seconds finishing up for Global Chamber, it is a hard time. It's challenging, but the opportunities are unmatched in terms of the change and the dynamics and the growth that's happening around the world. So keep your head in the game, keep calm, and it's all going to work out because the opportunities are there. As the CTO of Kubota Corporation told me the other day, there's never been a more important time for Global Chamber, breaking down silos, getting people to work together. This is the time for us to be as successful as we can. Andrew and Gregor, congratulations on your success. Thank you for this first time that you're hosting the Global Chamber London, UK monthly meetup. Zainab Al-Kara was not available today, and unfortunately, it sounds like Katie and also the work that we're doing with WSI, which is on Monday. It's a pitch event for AI companies that are in the HR space. We were hoping to do a little preview of that, but that is up on the Global Chamber website, and I encourage you to attend that. We marketed it terribly last time. We're not marketing it very much better this time. And when I say that, I just felt like last time it was such an amazing event. And I was surprised. It was so great. And I would imagine Mondays on the 20th will be great as well. It's a UK-driven initiative between Global Chamber and WSI. Andrew and Gregor, what final comments do you have?
Yeah, just from our side, just a big thank you to everyone that's come along. Poppy, I need lessons on how to walk my small cockapoo. I don't know how you walk a mastiff because I go zigzag from side to side. And Martha, I don't think we had enough time to speak to you, so sorry today. Hopefully we can connect with everyone. I think that's the power of this group. And Gregor, I don't know whether you want to say any more.
No, I really enjoyed the call and
Yeah.
great to see everything that's on it. And special thanks to Stuart, to Rhonda, to Matt and Poppy and Coco as well for their inputs and the thoughts. And I think it's the common thread is we need to stay focused. It's hard, but it's good because we have this international community. So pick up the phone, email, come to these meetings, be part of the Global Chamber can make a huge difference. And don't think in straight lines. Sometimes the connection, sometimes the thought, sometimes the person that can help you and your company is maybe not the first thing that you think of. So just keep that in mind as well. And really enjoyed it. And we'll see everything again in May.
Ditto.
Yeah,
Thanks, Stuart.
well done. That's the new one.
That,
Great
that
stuff.
dog is huge. The dog is huge, Poppy.
The dog
I
is
need
huge.
Dan, I need to tell you, my partner's got a cockapoo, and actually, he's the real troublemaker. Big AC.
Yeah, no,
Pretty cool.
thank you for that. Yeah. You make me feel slightly better. Anyway, have a wonderful rest of your evening and day. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Much.
Take
you
care
so
all.
much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.